postponement of the reopening of schools because of the ongoing floods that have caused massive destruction and left more than 200 people dead. National examinations, which are scheduled to start in November, will, however, not be affected by the reorganization of the school calendar. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu said this yesterday. I have a story on page 4 of the Daily Nation today. And MPs are demanding 1 billion shillings chamber upgrade budget. Bunge Tower recently opened up, and it was opened by President Ruto, and has been dogged by controversy, including delayed construction. That is on the front page of the Star, as you can see today. And new hurdle also for Raila on AU seat, as Mayor Leader faces challenge from section of African Muslim Bloc BACS, which is backing Somalia candidate for African Union Commission chair. And this is for Zia Yusuf Adam. That could be a tipping wire. And that story is stuck to on page 7 of the People Daily this morning. Holy Court with, as you heard it, Dr. James Nyikali for joining us this morning, Member of Parliament Seme. Also we have the Senator of Bomet, Hilary Sigay, and also Member of Parliament from Mbeere North. This is Geoffrey Ruku as well. So we were to circle back with you, sir. Ruku, I know I had interrupted you a bit. I had technical challenges with the mic, but it has been sorted out. But you can tell us more. And off camera, we're just talking about how maybe this given figure that is 228, it could be a conservative figure because also maybe people have not reported some of the victims that have been affected by the floods. Deaths from your own region as well. We given to understand 3 people have been buried. Yes, this week, yes.
We are burying 3 people in different areas of Mbeere North who was drowned because of what is happening across the country. So probably the figures given by government may be conservative, because in some areas it is very rare for such cases, even when it is raining, especially in highlands, for people to drown. So it is becoming a serious crisis across almost in each and every constituency in the Republic of Kenya. So I think it's something which we as government need to put all our effort. It's a serious crisis because when you go to the deep areas in the villages, you will see how people have been affected, how families have been affected by the floods or by the rains which is going on. So true, probably within the course of this week, probably the government is going to call for it to be a national disaster.
So why is the government not really calling it to be a national disaster? The numbers ticking up as it is. This call has been there for the last 1 month.
I think it all depends with the weather forecast. Probably the weatherman has said this kind of rain might continue up to the end of this month.
We have the looming threat of Cyclone Idai right now. 1 person has actually been reported dead. So actually that number should be ticking up to 229 as we speak.
Yes. So
the weatherman has said it's going until June, right? So
yes.
So are we waiting until June so that we can gauge and say it should be a national disaster? Because I think the much we wait, the much also we are handcuffing, so to speak, or we are sort of paralyzing other efforts to join forces to try and alleviate the situation.
The decision to postpone the opening of the schools was a very prudent decision, because you can imagine, for instance, the time I was coming out of my house, it was almost 6. I think it was 6 and some minutes, and it looked quite bad outside. So you can't imagine young kids going to school at that time with that kind of weather. So I think it is prudent, it's very well thought decision to postpone the opening of schools, but also I think the same decision which government has made in terms of opening the schools, they might make a decision probably this week to call this a national disaster, so that all arms of government plus the international community can come together to see how we can help the families affected across the country, because whatever is happening, it's a huge cost to the government. There will be serious reallocation of resources, reallocation of budget, so that we can meet the cost of the destruction which has been caused. And it's a very unfortunate that 1 year ago, the government reallocated huge budget to take care of drought, to feed animals, to feed people, to provide water and all manner of assistance. Huge cost in terms of allocation of budget rights. Mm-hmm. We are going to experience the same this financial year, reallocating budget which could have gone to development project to take care of rebuilding homes, rebuilding infrastructure, rebuilding schools, all the manner of infrastructure which has been destroyed, whether it's sewerage, whether it is water infrastructure, whether it is roads. So that reallocation of budget seriously affects the running of government. And I think it is high time as Kenyans, as a government, we start thinking on climate proofing on all the projects to implement so that they can be resilient to the effect of climate change. Whether it is roads, whether it is water infrastructure, the building we are coming up with, our schools, our homes, the apartments we are coming up with, we have to think seriously and we have to make it a building code that every infrastructure, every project developed by government must have a component of climate proofing, because this is a concept which has gained roots in other countries. It needs to gain roots also in our nation.
All right. Let me, you say that we have budget reallocation. I'm given to understand right now is almost a 10.6 billion shilling that has been allocated to this flooding situation in the country. But why should we as a government be now allocating budgets towards flooding from other budgetary estimations that has been given? I thought in this country we have a 5% emergency or contingency fund, which is part of the GDP, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Right? So isn't that sufficient enough, or there needs to be more? 5% of the GDP of this country, what will that be? I think you can kiss your mouth right now and tell us, isn't that sufficient, or we need more resources on this as well?
We need more resources, Jipar. The destruction is huge. Some of the roads will require total recarpeting because of the number of potholes which have come up because of the rains. We are not talking about the bridges.
But how much are we talking about when we say 5% of the GDP?
I can't give the figure often unless I do some calculation, but just to...
but we can just get a ballpark figure, isn't it?
I saw somewhere in one of the social media that in Murang'a County, the emergency allocation is about 90 something million, and already what is remaining is 25 million. So 25 million for our whole county is very little amount of money. It can't be able to do much. So assuming that is a trend in each and every county, in each and every constituency. For instance, in Mbeere North constituency, we have an emergency kitty for 8.6 million. Already we have spent 2.3 million. We are left with 5.something million. 5.5 million, and the number of the schools which the toilets have sunk because of rain, the walls have come down because of rain. Even if I can only do probably 3 schools for the toilet, and the budget is over, and the number of schools which need rehabilitation because of this rain are too many across the constituency. So 5 million cannot be able to do much. If this is the case across each and every constituency in the Republic, then there is huge deficit of the budget required for the emergency. And that's why it will be important for the government to reallocate budget lines to meet different requirements for each and every sector. We got a directive from the president the other day that the CDF board should allow the members of parliament to reallocate the budget line so that we can meet what is happening across our constituencies. Because the way the CDF money is budgeted, you cannot be able to touch different budget lines. But at the moment, we may be forced to get money from those budget lines to increase the infrastructural requirement for the schools, for the security, for security infrastructure across the constituency, so that they can be rehabilitated in a manner they were before the rain started. So I believe we need more money for these kind of emergencies.
All right, let's hear from Honorable Nyikal. Yeah, more money, but also more accountability, because it seems this also will be a spawning ground again for looting, corruption, because we cannot put an ironclad figure, especially when it comes to relief food. That is, this has gone where, this has gone to this, but people can fudge the accounts. I'm worried that also this will be an opening ground for corruption. I don't know, what is your assessment?
That is a genuine concern. Whenever you have emergency expenditure or expenditure that is being done in situation of disaster, if you're not careful, it's very easy to ignore the procedures, because sometimes you'll consider that the procedures are time consuming. And sometimes it's a good reason, but sometimes it can also be an excuse to do what ought not to be done. But let's go back to the issue you raised of national disaster. Last week on this table, we actually, all of us who are here, agreed that this should be declared a national disaster. I don't know up to now why it has not been declared a national disaster. And now we are requesting for more money to be spent through the budget. If it's declared a national disaster, it makes it much easier. There's good rationale, and you can move money. You can see what projects to hold back, particular development projects. You must call in here of one whole government approach. That is when you actually need a whole government approach. But I think in this country, the way the structure of the ministries is not very clear now who is now handling this. Now remember, before, if you look some years back, we had a Ministry of Special Programs, and it was well known, and it had funds to deal with disaster. And I think with devolution, some of the disaster funds went to the counties, but as Honorable Ruku is saying, it is in small bits everywhere. So I think even restructuring...
That was being headed by Honorable Naomi Shaban.
That was being headed by Honorable Naomi Shaban, and it was much easier to mobilize. So my first statement is this: we should declare it a national disaster, and then use that to mobilize resources, both financial resources, human resources across ministries. Because we have had floods, but as far as I can remember, I think we have never had such issues. So that is first thing. Declare this a national disaster. Two, this one whole government approach. This is now when you need a really central place to manage this, so that resources can be mobilized and we know where they are and who is. And that can then get all, you may need, even the defense forces may be needed, the police may be needed, transport may be needed. Because when you look at this, everybody is concerned. Health people will be needed, so that you have that single approach. That is absolutely necessary. Looking for money, you're saying we have 5% of the GDP. I can't say exactly how much money it is now. But normally when you go through budget, even if something is stated that so much of the budget should go to in-law, or so much it should go for the GDP, you find that at the actual time of the budget, sometimes that is not done. Do you remember the political parties fund? People have even gone to court because that amount of money was not in the budget. So if we didn't put that money in the budget of that 5%, we are saying, think of health. We've been talking of 15% from time immemorial. So that may be agreed, it's not in the budget. So it is necessary to ask for money. In my view, if when this comes to Parliament, I think we'll have to consider it very seriously, because we are in a crisis situation. And if it was a national disaster, yes, we would even move faster. So I think, I don't know why we're dilly-dallying about that. I think that is something we should do. And again,
just to ask on the issue of, because now Treasury also has paid 9 billion shillings to this flood situation that we have in the country right now. I don't know, Parliament is still in recess? Yeah?
Yes, the Parliament has just started recess.
You just started recess,
yes.
So for a whole month right now. So the question is again, in terms of accountability, if this money is now being disbursed and you have the dead hand of bureaucracy, as you say, which can be an encumbrance, how then do we put measures of accountability? I think you've done your approval, or maybe I've got it mixed up all completely. You've done the approval for these emergencies. How the reallocation? Because you had your budget estimates, and of course we have the budget lines as well. Now the moving about.
Well,
who oversees the moving about of the budgets, so that you can create these funds?
Well, to begin with, even without coming to Parliament, in emergency situations for something that was not budgeted, that has come up, we have Article 2, which can allow, but I think it only goes up to 10%. My feeling is that this may go a little bit above that. But even if it goes above that and you don't use that, the fact that Parliament is in recess is not an obstacle. If there is a need,
when you come back, you can always come and patch it up.
Yes, and patch it up. So from the point of view of Parliament, I see no obstacle at all. Now, it must come from Treasury, then it must come to the Budget and Finance Committee, and then we will go through it. Once that is done, we do oversight, but oversight to a large extent is after the event. So you see how is this being spent. The rest becomes the handling of the executive. Now, that's why I'm saying right now, if you ask which ministry is responsible for this, when it is roads, you now see it is roads and transport, and you see that. When it now comes to schools, now you see the Ministry of Education. But there must be somebody, one person that is really coordinating. That's not clear to me. Maybe I don't know.
Indeed, and that's what I wanted.
Very well.
You've really oriented my thoughts towards special programs.
Yes.
Now, since we don't have a Ministry of special programs right now, that will have been the ministry handling this. Should this be under the remit of the Ministry of Interior? So that we get at least coordination, there's confusion, everyone twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the other to respond, and no one seems maybe to be quick off the mark in terms of response and action, immediate action for that matter. That coordination, especially a ministry that will have been overarching in terms of response, we don't have the special programs. Could that be also creating the confusion that is there, or what do you have in mind, Dr.
No,
Kalbi,
if you don't have one ministry coordinating a thing like this, definitely.
That's what I'm asking. Yeah. Which should be the ministry? Is it Interior?
Right now, what we can see is Interior, with each person, each ministry with their bit responding. But we don't have a special ministry dealing with disaster issues like we had before. So
should the Prime Minister then, not the Prime Minister, but the Prime Cabinet Secretary now, being the figurehead who should be coordinating efforts in terms of, right?
Now, what normally, not normally, but what I would expect to be done is that this definitely is a matter that will be in the Cabinet. And then we can pick out ministries that are directly involved. Now I think water will be there, roads will be there, health will definitely be there, education will be there, and then if you don't have a special ministry, then you can have a cabinet subcommittee, and then one ministry then provide the secretariat, and all the other ministries then work under that and coordinate quickly. As it is now, it's not clear to me. Maybe my colleagues here may say who goes to that.
The president,
I think, we'll come to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Nikal, for that bit. For starters, I wouldn't say there is confusion. And if you noticed on Friday, when the president gave a presser on the status of the condition of the country in terms of the heavy rains, a lot of us were expecting the president to declare it a national disaster.
Yes.
And of course, the fact that it hasn't been declared a national disaster does not mean that the government has not taken heed of the fact that it is indeed a disaster. There is what this government has called all government approach, and that has assisted in enhancing performance on the part of the government through sectoral approaches so that confusion is not experienced. When you look at instances where disasters like it happened in Mai, the first person that went on site was the CS Roads, and I think the deputy president and the governor from Nakuru, and also the CS Education. Now, the approach the government has had in place over this, which is not necessarily, I would say, devoid of challenges, as Dr. Nikal has said, is the approach where the government, the president has had a subcommittee dealing with it, but each government department has been involved in. If it's about schools, the Minister of Education, CS Mashogu, has been coordinating approaches on what to deal with schools which have been submerged, the postponement of school opening. When it comes to roads, CS for roads, Honorable Murkomen has been dealing with situations involving the roads, and the county government of Nairobi, Governor Sakaja, has been largely coordinating rescue missions. And that way, we're seeing a whole government approach. We are seeing coordination from various sectoral without necessarily having a single ministry that is involved in it. It would probably have looked a little bit neater if we had a ministry on special programs. That I would admit. It would be better off because we would be channeling resources to one ministry. We'd be channeling all the support that comes to one individual for purposes of accountability, for purposes of also identifying areas which are completely, in need of investment and support. It would be a bit easier. But of course, now the approach that has been provided for is because of the way the president has seen it's better. When he gave out his decision, I believe I've seen the latest briefing from the government spokesperson gives us statistics on the numbers. We have 228 who've been declared we've lost. We've got around 110 missing, 51 in the Mai incident, over 200,000 displaced and all that. And in his briefing, he also gives a brief on what the government is doing. The president has had subcommittees, and from among the donors, that is why these subcommittees are forming, so that individual government agencies are given their roles. But I agree with you that it would probably be a bit neater if we had a Minister of Special Program. But where we are as at now, we are not saying the government has not done what it's supposed to do in terms of mitigating the losses.
But I wanted just to, in terms of mitigating, because if perhaps your community is affected, yes, quickly, can you also just identify the number that should be, for you to call to get a response, maybe a rescue team as well?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that has not been largely publicized for people to be aware.
Actually, we have
what
a number.
Is the number? It should be. I know there is a number.
Yes.
But who is actually coordinating that? Because we have a Ministry of SLs as well with Penina Malonza. Should we call her? Should we call the Ministry of Interior? What is a given number that is there that the public should, call, asking for rescue or response or relief or, some intervention?
It's true that we would really have it would really have it easier.
Yeah, so we don't have a frequency on the circulation of this particular number. Are you aware? Do you know that number?
Yes, I actually wanted to give you the number.
No, I don't know
You
all
don't know.
that. I don't know
When you
the,
can't, you know that
offense,
number. He has also
but the number is there.
Because the latest report
you-
from the
the
government
number is there.
spokesperson
Yes.
has given us that there is what we call the National Public Health Emergency Operation Center that has been set up. National Public Health Emergency Operation Center has already been set up. It's up and running. It has a number 719. In case you have incidences which you need
So this
to
was
report to be
announced yesterday.
supported, it
No, this was announced yesterday.
fifth was today is
Yeah, today is 6th.
Today is 6th. Yeah, it was,
Yes.
this is yesterday.
So this is yesterday.
This is based on, of course, the coordination which I was saying. Remember on Friday?
That's what I'm saying. It's coming in way too late.
No,
Right now,
no, it's too late. It's not too late.
It is too late. How many weeks have we been talking about floods?
We have
Since the
had,
beginning, yes.
we have had the government.
It's almost a
on
month.
briefing. The last government briefing where the president did was on Friday. That was on the 4th, right? No, that was on the 3rd.
That's what I'm saying. These actions is coming after the president now came up with this coordinated, as you call it, the government.
It's called
the
whole government approach. It's
the
whole
whole
government
government approach.
approach, yes. It's
Yes,
called
this whole government approach just came in last week, and we're
Yes.
talking about a month right now that even you are struggling to tell me what is the number. You do not know it. It was announced yesterday. Many people now have been stranded. Who do I call? Which number do I call?
And we should take the
for
opportunity
rescue.
to do that.
Yeah, and we should have a very high
to let Kenyans
frequency, circulation, even in the media, in the dailies, in social media, for people to know this is a number that people should be responding to once they are in distress. I think that has been poorly done and communicated from the government perspective. So there's a sort of glacial slowness in response of this disaster that we're in. And we have Cyclone Hidaya now, which is also with us, and it has claimed one life so far. Obaruku, what do you think?
I agree with you.
So do you agree that I
agree.
think that the response has been a bit lackluster from the government?
I agree with you, Depal, and the rack we have is that we have a president who is hands-on as far as managing the affairs of the nation is concerned, and I'm sure within the course of this week is definitely going to take serious decisions pertaining whatever is going on. The first decision he made was to postpone the reopening of the schools until further notice, and to try and see whether the task force or the team, the multi-agency team which he formed, is going to coordinate the evacuation, the assistance of the household or the people affected in the most prudent manner. Yes, as my colleague here said, there is a number which those affected can call is National Disaster Operation Center, which already has been formed, and through this number, people can call and they can get help, which is 0800 721 571. But this is not enough to just have a number. We should be able to see the multi-agency team or operation team in almost all parts of this country. Yesterday we saw the Chief of Defense Forces, General Kariri, going to Maimayo to see how KDF can help. Already we have a team of Kenyan Defense Forces there, I think 160 something, and NOS who are also in Maimayo trying to help the community there and to see whether they can recover more people, or I don't want to use the one more bodies, which is painful. It's very painful that their families, up to now, they don't know where their loved ones are. They are babies, they are sons, they are daughters. They are still, they have not been identified. It's very painful to those families. So KDF, we have seen KDF is out there. NOS is out trying to help. We have seen Moses Kuria, CS for Public Service. He has set up Uduma Center in Maimayu to be able to help the community there. So we need to see such kind of operations escalated in all parts of the country, in all places where We have high cases of death because of France. So Daventry is a difficult situation. It's a situation which was not where the government was not, the emergency cases they are never prepared for. That's why they are called emergency. It is true we are missing a link of a certain ministry to be purely in charge of such situations, because we have seen this situation occurring again and again, whether it is drought, whether it is France, whether probably next would be fire or earthquake or whatever it is. We need to have a specialized team within the government to be able to respond quickly to such kind of situation. We have also seen some laxity as far as non-governmental organizations which operate mostly help in such kind of situations. It's an overwhelming thing.
But we need to question.
We have seen international organizations, international community coming in with help. We have seen UAE coming with help. We have seen UK government.
But before we even come with those helps, we need to ask the effectiveness and the efficacy of some of the institutions that we've put up, like the National Disaster Management Authority, and what it's doing, National Water Harvesting Authority as well. Up to now, we've not even seen any of their faces to come and tell us how and what are the measures they're taking in terms of harvesting this water that is spilling everywhere in this country as well. That will have been one of the institutions that, if they are limited in their capacity, they will have let the government know. If you tell me, or if I ask you again, who is the figure of a particular authority, you'd be at pains to tell me.
Yes, true. True.
It shows that these institutions, we need to question why are taxpayers funding these institutions at the end of the day if we're in their need of their help right now and we can't see their faces.
I agree with you 100%.
So why would we be looking for a special programs, and yet if it's lack of funding, we need to question, should we maybe be upscaling some or not really upscaling, but actually trying to stash more funds towards their way so that they can have capacity to respond effectively.
I agree with you, and that's why you can see members of parliament are a bit agitated with non-performance of government ministers. That's why CS Agriculture, the parliament united both the minority and majority and said this is wrong, we have to stand with Kenyans. So there is a clear message out there that those who are given mandate to perform duties, critical duties to the public, they have to take their job seriously. Mm-hmm. We have institutions, yes, the ones you are mentioning, and we have not seen them anywhere. Very soon we'll be questioning those institutions. We'll be questioning them, why is it necessary to continue allocating money to these institutions? Because they definitely get exchequer allocations. Yep. But as you know, we have been having a problem as far as budgetary allocations is concerned. But the little you have, the little budget allocation you have, show us what you have done with that budget and whether it is impactful to the people of the Republic of Kenya. Impact is extremely important. You may have some allocation, but what you are allocating that money is not the core business of the institution. And this is seriously affecting many institutions across the country. You look at our universities. Huge amount of budget goes to non-core business of the university. The core business of the university is teaching and research. Mm-hmm. But you go to administration cost, building of so many infrastructure, some of them which are not necessary. There's huge cost happening across all our universities across this country. So there is misallocation of resources in quite a number of institutions. The other day we were questioning about the renovation of KICC, which was done by KDF because of Africa Climate Summit. You see how money was allocated there, until you wonder, is this how we are going to utilize the resources? Cleaning of capros at KSCC costing 28.8 million. Cleaning of window panes for 4 floors costing 10 million Kenya shilling. Cleaning of the statue of Jomo Kenyatta at KSCC costing 5.7 million. Putting 1 floor carpet, 2nd floor, 1 floor costing 99 million Kenya shilling. So we have a problem somewhere with the people who have been given the mandate to execute duties on behalf of the people of Kenya. But given mandate by the president, and it's upon us, the members of parliament or the parliament, to oversight how the resources are utilized, and we oversight in a serious manner, and we be firm in our oversight role.
But given this, given these revelations that you have such expenditures, because people are wondering, why are we spending that money renovating KICC? Even just as you mentioned, cleaning of a statue itself would have costed that much, or recarpeting first floor of KICC would have really costed that much. But the problem with this country will make this mention of his figures, and then it will just, taper off. No one will forget about it. We need accountability on what really happened with that, and auditing of that particular expenditure that happened with the renovations. And I think you are the people who are responsible. We should call up the CEO of the KSS or whatever agencies that were involved in procurement of his services, so that we have value for money at the end of the day. And if there is any over-bloating of a budget, that money should be recouped, and that money should be gotten back to the exchequer to redeploy, even now where we have a dire need of funding, especially with the flooding right now. I think the problem is we mention these things, these figures on media, and then no one really goes back to actually recoup this particular money the way, or question or audit. And ESCC maybe should now come to fore and try and recoup these figures or monies that have been
by the time
wasted.
You're chasing money that has been spent, you've lost the game. The problem we are having here, in my view, is structure. There should be a structure that coordinates everything. Like, let's talk of emergency. We have just agreed that at least if we had a ministry that is directly linked with this, it is easier to get all these ministries in. Now, we're talking of whole government. I accept this, the whole government approach. But I don't understand it very much. But nor do many people understand it. If you are going to fund this whole government approach, where does the money go? Because the money in government moves with structures and ministries and budget allocation, and there is estimates that you see in the estimate books. If you didn't have a structure that is the whole at the beginning, and now you want to do something, it's a whole government approach, how do you even fund that whole government approach? You have a cabinet where actually people meet, and when people meet and the president is chairing the cabinet, all the ministers are there. So from that point, there's a whole government which should say, if this is going to happen, maybe, as I was saying, you should have cabinet subcommittees. They say, this ministry, you are involved. So you are going to sit together and get it done. This ministry is more so involved. Like if it's a health matter. Okay, look at us now, we have the issue of health, the crisis in the health sector. Again, we are talking of whole of government approach in the health sector. Who are we seeing? The head of the public service. The Minister for Health now is look aside. What one would have expected is that the Minister for the Cabinet Secretary for Health who could actually be heading this process. Now, if it were the Ministry for Disaster, for special program, like we had, and only as he was mentioning this, in my mind, I was going through incidences that we went in the past. When he talked of fire, we had the fire in Fafi with Sachanguan at the same time. And again, this, the Ministry of Special Program, people came around and money was raised in a weekend. And by Monday, people were moving in. When you talk of drought, we had a huge drought, animals were lost, and the area of Marsabit was basically very, very severely affected. And that was done. So we must have a structure in a situation like this, a particular ministry that takes charge, and people, everything is now mobilized around it. It is good. The Defense Forces chief will go there. the Ministry for Public Service will go there, the NIS will go there. But when they are there, who is coordinating all this? Who is saying who is doing what when? So I think we have to really look at a structure. And it is in that situation where everybody goes on their own that you will find that the expenditure has been done through very many areas that you now can't trace where did the money actually go, where did it move. We have an issue of structure. I really appreciate that we have a hands-on president, and they say this lack. Sometimes I wonder, it feels like the president is, can the president do something in every ministry? In this ministry, you go and do something. In this ministry, you go and do something. I think the president is somebody who actually gets reported, gets a program and says, I'm not satisfied with that going on, go and get it done. But if we are saying the president is going to do this thing himself, look at what happened when we were closing and opening schools. Good idea. With this weather situation, with the rain situation, what is happening in schools? Schools, some are flooded, buildings have come down. Those that are in some places, people have moved into those schools, are staying there because their homes have been washed away. And this is not a day. So how are you going to decide that the schools are not going to open at midnight? There is some failure behind here, a week or two before. So I hope it was not that somebody was waiting for the president to make the decision, because ministers, a cabinet secretary, have their mandate, and in their mandate, in a crisis situation, a cabinet secretary should make a situation, and I think the president will be extremely happy that a cabinet secretary did this thing, made a decision, and it worked well. But I think as a president would not be happy if a cabinet secretary is waiting and the disaster is going on to get instructions. We must distinguish between hands-on and getting a situation where everybody is waiting for the president to do or to decide everything.
But is that maybe the order of the day and the protocol that should be followed, that maybe the cabinet secretary was tied up in terms of the encumbrance of a dead hard of bureaucracy, that you still have to wait maybe the apparatus of government to give the green light for you to make that particular that statement, because of course information coming to hand is
one
that,
mother said
the
one mother said by the time we went to bed we had prepared our children. They've already traveled to go, and then you make a decision at midnight. We are sleeping. How do we know and then call our children back? So these are signs, and my colleagues are here, these are signs that we should go back and look at the structures that we are doing it, and coordination in terms of emergency. Now, I'm really worried. Today, should we hear...
Then we need to question also what is the value, the maturity, utility for the Prime Cabinet Secretary at the end of the day. I mean, what is his role? This is where he should be, because we believe that Musalia Mudavadi should be the figure who is coordinating the entire ministries that we do have at the end of the day. Why would we also be having such a confusion when we have such an office at the end of the day?
I can't talk for that.
Can I?
No, you can talk. You can question, because we need to question why we have that office.
Let me chip in the
Why was the office
I do not
put in place in the first place?
I do not want us to sort of concentrate on a perceived confusion when there is none, because we've said here that a whole government approach.
Allow me before you even go, you said there is none.
Yes.
Jesus mentioned on Friday people were confused regarding that particular pronouncement by the CS.
Yes.
What will you term that? Not confusion?
That was not confusion.
That was what?
You see,
that was not confusion at all.
It wasn't confusion. The fact that a decision or a communication came in, it didn't come out at midnight. It didn't come out at midnight.
What time did it come out?
I mean, for us to assume that everybody in government sleeps and wakes up to a communication is wrong.
No. But the time
allow me to prosecute this debate. I wouldn't allow you to
I wouldn't allow you also to let misconception and misinformation fly. Because by the time I was coming to the show, the information that was there was the ministry, people are going to schools, but the ministry is advising that he will give a notice on the schools that have been affected by floods not to go to schools.
We had
that was the information.
We had this conversation last Monday here at the bar.
Yes.
What time was it? We prosecuted the fact that indeed it was not the best of the communication for the government to do it at such an hour or late in the day when parents had prepared. Some of them had gone even to school, because some parents who were traveling from far with their kids traveled the day before. That we did. But we are not saying that was confusion. We are not saying that. Let's not belabor the point and create confusion where there is none. Let us concentrate on this very important aspect where we are saying, would it have been better for us as Kenyans to deal with the situation of the floods had we a ministry dedicated to deal with emergencies? And that we've already established. That is the thing. And we say that there isn't any confusion, because when the government says we have a whole government approach, by the way, there is a benefit to it. Each and every ministry, remember what Hondeburuku told us here. In his CDF, he's got a budget for emergency, which is already depleted because of a number of schools and institutions that have had their toilets caved in and all that. If we are having a whole government approach, isn't it then an opportunity, which is actually the case, that we are having various ministries pooling resources to an akiti for purposes of this emergency, such that when the government is today saying we are asking Parliament to appropriate another 10.6 billion, where are we getting this 10.6 billion? We pick from the Ministry of Roads, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Education. We pool resources for purposes of this emergency that is flood. And so when the president sits back with his ministries and give instructions, it is easier. For instance, when we have CS Roads being instructed to open up Maimayu Narok Road, than to have the Prime Cabinet Secretary to coordinate on such a thing, because we have special technical personnel in the respective ministries. The issue should be, who is the ultimate person whose instruction should be taken? And that is why we were saying, if then the president is capable of coordinating, he is not necessarily supposed to be calling upon every minister or every CEO at any given time for instructions. If he is able to coordinate at the cabinet level, we should be able to get the various ministries dealing with the disasters at a level where we are capable of enhancing support to the victims of flood. Look at what Governor Sakaja did following the multi-agency setup team that he did. That multi-agency group was set up from a cabinet meeting, which advice was given that we need to have the county government of Nairobi dealing with these demolitions on structures which are along the waterways. That in itself helped, assuming that each cabinet secretary was now, based on that coordination, able to align the resources availed to him or her to support victims. We will be able to achieve support to our people.
All right.
The issue should be, let us look at how best we can pool these resources, how best we can coordinate, so that we know, in case of this one, we are able to run down to the person responsible. But if we don't concentrate on that line, we will lose the point.
Okay.
And yet,
but we need to question as well, why would Standard wake up and put a cabinet of blunders as a headline today?
When you look at this headline, when you look at this headline,
we have cabinet of blunders as a headline today, and we have a prime cabinet secretary that is meant to be the overarching head.
I want you to take note of something very important in this headline.
I'm asking a question. What is the material utility for this office? Why would we have that particular office in the first place if these things are occurring? If the president himself is saying, you know, some of you have scanty information on what really happens within your ministry.
Allow me just to weigh.
If we have the public, why should we be having this office?
Allow me to weigh in, I think Prime Cabinet Secretary,
or maybe the better question will be, what is the job description of a Prime Cabinet Secretary? We can begin from there so that we can actually benchmark with the JD if he's really performing himself.
If I was to rate Musalia Mudavadi on what he's doing in this government, I will give him very low marks. as far as his performance in this government is concerned. The only thing is helping. The only thing is helping this government is political face, just to unite the face of the nation, the face of the country. In terms of performance of this government,
It's dismal.
It's very dismal. He is only helping in terms of political face of the nation, and I'm not afraid to say that. The guys who are working seriously hard to ensure the government is running is the president, is his deputy president, Professor Kiduri, and several other ministers. But we have not seen the effort of the Prime Cabinet Secretary coming out strongly, in helping the president to run the government properly. And we are calling upon Musalia Mudavadi, please put your best foot forward. But having known where Musalia Mudavadi comes from, his history in terms of in government, he has been government wrong enough. From the time he was in high schools or in primary schools, he was still a minister, and he's still a minister even now. And mostly he has been docile as far as the way he runs his ministry is concerned. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. So that is Musalia Mudavadi. He's for that phase, uniting the nation. He's there, so our people are in government. I think, to me, that's how I look at it. But there are people who are not sleeping.
So he's
to run this
as far as the face of the nation is concerned. But when it comes to the requisites, changes that
for instance,
should do.
If we ask how many places Musalia Mudavadi has visited from the time he became the Prime Cabinet Secretary for this nation, in this country, how many times he has been in Meru, he has been in different parts of this country, in Isiolo, in Turkana. In most cases, you hear him is in Western Kenya. So, from where I stand, the people who are burning midnight oil to ensure Kenya as a nation, and it has a government which is working for the people, is the president, is his deputy president.
Maybe you saddled Musalia Mudavadi so much. You should unbundle the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or leave it for him to run with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and give the docket of the Prime Cabinet Secretary to someone else. Right? If he can run it concurrently and he cannot really perform, then we need to question what he's doing. He should be the face, actually,
and
on the ground, as far as responses are concerned from the ground. Of the floods. Yeah.
We, as members of Parliament and Kenya Kwanza Coalition, we will not defend any minister because he's a part of our coalition. If you are a minister of government and you are not playing your role properly, we will lean on you. If you do things which are contrary to the Constitution, we will beat you. And that is our commitment as members.
All right.
Yes.
Honorable Jiga, we need to take a short break. Just make it brief. You've been greatly shy to give us the JD. I know you're not a Musalia Mudavadi, but I want you can tell us what is the JD of that particular docket. When you as opposition, you should be intimately familiar as well.
When you started with this list on the standard, it sounded from what Honorable Bukuru said, we have 5. I think there's another one to be added. Yes, Musalia Mudavadi. So that the list is 6.
But I mean,
let me just say, where we go for is the executive order that created that office. Well, you actually now has motivated me. I'm actually going to look at the executive order and say, what does the executive order say Musalia Mudavadi should do? Because we may say all this, but when you go there, you will find that he's there, but he doesn't have clearly what he's set out to do, particularly if ministries have been set and they have their own structures. Now you coming in to coordinate them, if you do not have very clear guidelines on how you do it, you will be lost. So that, but coming to this list which you mentioned and we are not talking about, each and every face that are shown here, actually there's a thing that the public has seen that actually have brought them in the list, as I can see. If you look at health, we have this crisis that has gone on for now 51 days. And what is happening as it is going on, more and more cadres are coming in. It started with clinical officers and doctors. Actually, the doctors, clinical officers became. And if you look at it, the same issues are actually the issue of interns, the issue of UHC, universal health cover staff that were employed during COVID, and those are the same. So all people are coming in, recognition of unions, they are coming in. And now you wonder, even just the definition of an intern. So people are wondering, if you look at CS Kipchumba Murkomen, the issue has been actually the power, particularly at the airport. And when we even had the first power blackout, what we heard about action was taken against the people who were operating the generators that didn't start.
I have to
now, we didn't go through the bigger picture. Linturi is going on. Machogu education, even the funding on university, a fantastic idea in my view.
Right.
It hasn't worked well.
My music is up. We need to take a short break. We'll circle back with you.
Okay, stay with me so that
yes,
we can look at this. Are we wrong in putting their names here, or why have their names been here?
Yes.
That's what we should be discussing.
I think it should be in the public domain. TIFA also gave their own reports or the polling regarding the performance of some of its CSs as well. And since we have cabinets of blunders, we have the prime cabinet secretary, as it were, previously. Maybe this is the cabinet without portfolio. I think we've had the second one in this country with Rafael Tuju taking up the position of a second cabinet secretary without portfolio in the history of his country. So we need to know, maybe the prime cabinet secretary also was just a name without any portfolio. We'll circle back with more. Don't go away. You're watching